The meanings of Pokemon's names can vary quite a bit, depending on which language you're looking at. So what's up fellas, I'm Matt, and today we're back with more Pokemon name origins. As usual, we'll be talking about their English names, but we'll also take a look at several other languages. Alright, let's get started.
Good morning folks, I'm Elias, and I hold speedrunning world records in 94 games. I see nothing wrong with that statement. Let's start with a handful of Gen 2 Pokemon. Even though our favorite man, Nob Ogasawara, translated the first 4 gens into English, he didn't get the chance to name many of the species. Out of the 251 Pokemon from the first 2 generations, the only names Nob came up with were Hoppip, Skiploom, and Jumpluff. Their names are based on the phrase a hop, a skip, and a jump away, which is used to mean a short distance.
The second half of Hoppip's name could come from Pipsqueak, but it might also be derived from pip, which is another word for seed. In the UK, it's specifically used to refer to small seeds in certain fruits, like apples, oranges, and pears. 2 of which Elias is allergic to, fun fact. Skiploom's name could come from either bloom or plume, and Jumpluff is probably a combination of jump and fluff.
Just a clarification, I'm allergic to the raw versions of 2 of those fruits, but I still eat them. Nob also suggested one other name during Gen 2, but it ended up being rejected. In the final games, this Pokemon's name is Stantler, which is probably some combination of stag, stare, and antler. Nob wanted to call this guy Scaraboo instead, which would have been a portmanteau of scare and caribou. That would have been more in line with Stantler's original name. When I was younger, I used to think that cantaloupe and caribou were the same.
Well, I didn't realize until maybe a year or 2 ago that News and wildebeests were the same animal.
In Japanese, Stantler is most likely named after deer frightening devices. Said devices are used to scare animals away and protect nearby agriculture. Scarecrows fall into this category, but they can also take the form of a water fountain, which is designed to periodically hit a rock and make a loud noise. Nob said that its name should be Scaraboo, because it does a good job of preserving the meaning of its Japanese name.
There are a few things to point out here. Number 1, you could argue that the concept is still present in the name Stantler. The beginning of its name could also come from startle, which is a synonym for scare. If you ask us though, calling it Scaraboo would have made the connection clearer. Number B, several other languages did retain the idea of scaring animals away. Stantler's French name is a combination of the word for deer and this word that roughly means fright or jitters. In Mandarin, its name is Jingjiao Lu, which consists of the characters for surprise, antler, and deer.
Yeah, man, my favorite fruit is caribou. Anyway.
I'm sure it tastes really good. I would eat caribou.
It probably would be pretty good.
A few more of Nob's names made it into the Gen 4 games. He came up with Staravia, Staraptor, and Mismagius as well. He also suggested at least one other name, but it got rejected too. Instead of Spiritomb, Nob wanted to call this guy Phantomb, which would have been a combination of, well, Phantom and Tomb. That would have been a perfectly good name as well, but I like Spiritomb a little better.
In English, its name is almost certainly a combination of spirit and tomb, but the name is also very similar to a related Latin word, thanks to that language's declension system. Our word spirit comes from the Latin word spiritus. When a singular noun takes on the accusative case in Latin, it usually ends with M. As a result, spiritus becomes spiritum, which sounds awfully familiar.
I would like to point out, everybody, that Elias had to say accusative case a few times before he read that line, because I guess he felt like it was going to be some kind of tongue twister.
Accusative case.
Let's head back to Gen 1 and take a look at Mew and Mewtwo. Both Pokemon bear some resemblance to cats, so naturally you'd expect their names to reflect that. When Julian Bartikov translated the Gen 1 games into French, he asked if their names were derived from the English word Mew, as in a sound a cat makes. Nintendo told him no, but Bartikov has also shared Mew and Mewtwo's actual name origins.
In 2016, Bartikov did an interview with Camille Gévaudan, where he went over the French name origins for every Gen 1 Pokemon. According to this interview, Mew is derived from the English words mutant and mutation. Pokemon scientists believe that Mew is a universal common ancestor for all other species. In turn, Mewtwo's origin is the same, but it obviously has the English word "to" added to the end. Mew and Mewtwo's names are pretty much the same in most languages. Mew is spelled the same in French, German, Spanish, and Italian, and most other languages use transcriptions of that name. In Chinese though, Mew is called something completely different. In Mandarin, it's called Meng Huan, which means something along the lines of dream, illusion, or fantasy. Mewtwo is Chao Meng, which roughly means super dream. It doesn't roughly, it means super dream.
Okay, I kind of want to hedge my bets when I'm talking about Mandarin translations, because obviously I don't speak Chinese, so I'm just doing my best with machine translations.
Next up, let's head over to the Alola region and talk about the 4 Guardian legendaries. Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, Tapu Bulu, and Tapu Fini each watch over one island. Even though Alola is based on Hawaii, spelling and pronouncing these names in Hawaiian is kind of awkward, because it has a smaller continent inventory compared to English. language.
Ron Darling is Hawaiian.
Oh, is that so?
Yep. We'll start with the beginning of their names. Tapu is a Polynesian word which refers to things that are too holy or sacred to be interfered with. It was also loaned into English when Captain James Cook visited Tonga in 1777, which is how we got the word taboo. But tapu is where we run into our first issue. If you look at the standard Hawaiian alphabet, you'll notice that the letter T isn't present. T used to be part of the standard alphabet, but it was removed in 1826. There's an asterisk here though, because the T sound does still exist in some dialects.
In most languages that have T and K, they're completely separate phonemes. As an example, the English words tap and cap are distinct words that mean different things. It's a different story in Hawaiian though, because T and K are allophones of each other. That means you can use either sound without changing the word's meaning. Generally speaking, K is the more common sound, but some speakers also use T. Some forms of the written language also use the letter T, so the word tapu can in fact be spelled and pronounced in Hawaiian.
Tapu Koko is likely based on roosters, and the second half of its name reflects that. Koko comes from this onomatopoeic word for the sound that chickens make. It also bears some resemblance to the English and Japanese words for rooster noises. More on that in a second. Tapu Lele's name probably comes from this Hawaiian word, which means butterfly. The words koko and lele are both fully compatible with Hawaiian phonology. Tapu Koko is licely.
Hey, did you ever get lice?
I had lice a couple times actually.
I did not.
Lucky. Actually, unlucky. They remove you from school for that.
God forbid a guy show up to class. I don't want to deal with lice.
I mean, they give you a special shampoo and it just kind of...
Tapu Bulu and Tapu Fini's names probably come from the English words bull and fin respectively, but the letters B and F aren't part of the standard Hawaiian alphabet either. They do exist in the language, but pretty much exclusively in loanwords. In modern Hawaiian though, words that use B and F are often respelled, and these letters are usually replaced with P. So the words Bulu and Fini would probably look like this in Hawaiian.
In Japanese, their names all start with K instead of T, which is more in line with modern standard Hawaiian. The second half of Tapu Koko's name is the Japanese word for rooster noises, which we just saw a second ago. Tapu Fini's Japanese name is likely derived from the word for fin, and Tapu Lele and Tapu Bulu's names probably mean butterfly and bull respectively. Once again though, these names include sounds that are rarely used in Hawaiian.
That being said, neither of us are fluent in Hawaiian, or most of the other languages mentioned in this video for that matter. As a result, some of the details we've gone over might not be exactly right. If you speak any of the languages we talk about today, and you have corrections for us, please do let us know in the comments.
Most.
There's a reason I said most, Elias.
Yeah, just thought I might point it out a little more.
Elias is just like, hi, I'm bilingual.
Flex on the haters. Several Gen 1 Pokemon's English names are just regular words. Ditto, Persian, Alakazam, and Electrode are words that already exist in the language, to name a few. Slowpoke also falls into that category, so it's one of the more straightforward Pokemon names. Its evolutions, Slowbro and Slowking, also have pretty simple name origins, but it's a different story in Japanese.
The Slowpoke line's Japanese names probably come from this word that means hermit crab, as well as this word for a parasitic host. But they're also partially inspired by a Bosnian singer. Let me explain. Jadranka Stojakovic was born in Yugoslavia in 1950, but she moved to Japan in 1988. While she continued her career in music, she also worked for Konami.
One of Stojakovic's co-workers eventually left Konami, and they ended up working on Gen 1 of Pokemon. They got a chance to name some of the species, and they had Stojakovic in mind during this process. The name Jadranka is transliterated like this in Japanese, and Slowbro's name is the same, except the last syllable is chopped off. In turn, Slowpoke's Japanese name is a shortened version of Slowbro's, and Slowking's name ends with king like it does in English. If you've been enjoying our videos, subscribe to the channel. You can also become a channel member to support us for as little as 99 cents a month. You'll get to watch all our videos early, and you'll also gain access to a bunch of deleted scenes videos. Alright, go next.
Now let's take a look at Scyther. Its English name is derived from the word scythe, which is a farming tool that you can use to cut grass or harvest crops. Scyther's arms end in scythes, which it uses to attack its prey. Its original name is also pretty simple, but we think it's a lot of fun anyway. Scyther's Japanese name is romanized as strike.
The English word strike has several different meanings. In fact, it was loaned into Japanese twice, but it was spelled differently each time. Linguistically speaking, these two Japanese words are etymological twins, also known as doublets. The first word means strike, as in work stoppage, but for today we're only concerned with the other word in this pair. The second word sometimes means strike, as in hit, and this is also how Scyther's name is spelled. That makes a lot of sense for this guy, because it primarily attacks by physically striking opponents with its sharp arms.
But Scyther's name can also mean strike in the context context of sports. This word can refer to knocking down all 10 pins on your first roll of the frame in bowling, or a penalty on the batter in baseball. The Pokemon anime once made a pun out of that fact, although it doesn't translate into other languages besides Japanese. In one episode of the Sun and Moon series, Ash and Professor Kukui are seen watching Pokemon Base, which is a variant of baseball where humans and Pokemon play together.
The next day, Kukui teaches a lesson about Pokemon Base at school, with the help of the Magikarp team's cleanup hitter. In baseball, the home plate umpire's main duty is to call balls and strikes, oftentimes very poorly. This video is sponsored by the ABS system.
Read your line.
This video is actually an elaborate CB Buckner callout post in disguise. In any case, umpiring is a perfect job for Scyther. In the Japanese version of the episode, it calls strikes by just saying its own name.
On another note, doublets are a lot more common than you might think. Strike turned into two different Japanese words, but many English words also share an origin. Sometimes doublets take on very similar meanings, like frantic and frenetic, which both come from the same ancient Greek word. Another good example is guarantee and warranty, which are both derived from Old French. Other times, doublets wind up being opposites of each other. The word host comes from this Proto-Indo-European root, but this is also the origin of guest.
There are many cases where more than two words share the same origin as well. Apothecary, boutique, and bodega all come from this ancient Greek word, which means storehouse or repository. The Proto-Indo-European root that means to run gives us the words hurry, carry, horse, and car. Hundreds of English words are also derived, at least in part, from this root that means to produce, like generate, nature, engine, king, nation, gender, and genius. Alright, we're getting a little off track here. Let's just go next before we get too carried away.
Would caribou meat be like a type of venison? Is that right?
Is it a deer?
A caribou is a deer, isn't it? Or is it something closely related to deer?
I don't know.
Am I the one who doesn't know? Oh, caribou and reindeer are the same thing. Reindeer are deer though, so there's our answer.
Okay. I guess I didn't know that either.
Quagsire's English name is most likely derived from the words quagmire and sire, but it might also be incorporating the word siren, because that's the name for a genus of aquatic salamanders. Its Japanese name is likely derived from these two words. This first word can mean swamp, marsh, pond, bog, or lake, and the second word means king. It could also be inspired by this word for a species called the Japanese giant salamander.
Quagsire's Mandarin name is Zhaowang, which also means swamp king, but its French name is a bit awkward. Hello, French people. We meet yet again. For the first 4 generations, each Pokemon's name was written in all caps whenever they appeared in the game. That caused issues in French because the games didn't have uppercase letters with diacritics. As a result, the spelling and pronunciation of Quagsire's name aren't what Bartikov intended.
In French, the letter E is usually silent if it appears at the end of a word, but if the E has an acute accent, you do pronounce it. Quagsire's name is written like this, so you'd ordinarily expect it to have a silent E, but said name is a combination of these two words, which mean marsh and majesty respectively. This second word had an acute accent, so according to Bartikov, the final E was intended to be pronounced. Due to the game's limitations though, he was forced to spell it without the accent, which altered the name's pronunciation.
Have you considered flexing on the haters by simply benching 305 pounds? Or excuse me, 315.
I wish I could.
Yeah, just be better.
You're right, it's a skill issue. Starting in Gen 5, Pokemon's names are written with just the first letter capitalized. Now that the E at the end of Quagsire's French name was written in lowercase, it became possible to add an accent and change the pronunciation. But its name never got respelled, so it still has a silent, unaccented E to this day. Every official source pronounces it with a silent E, with one exception. The French announcer in Pokemon Stadium 2 says Quagsire's names as if it did have the accent.
This is our 5th video about name origins, and as usual, it comes with a caveat. These videos are filled with hypothetical language, and that's by design. Most of the origins we've talked about today are educated guesses, rather than confirmed facts. We think that the ideas we've presented are pretty plausible, but we'll probably never know for certain if they're actually true or not.
Allergies are for the weak. Okay, listen, I say that as somebody who's lactose intolerant, allergic to some of these fruits, and allergic to pollen. It's a skill issue. You just gotta man up and deal with it.
Okay, after this video, go drink a gallon of milk and let me know how that goes.
It won't go well.
I mean, generally speaking, I think lactose intolerance is generally not as dangerous as like a dairy allergy, right? Because those are two different things.
Yeah, I guess so.
This just in, everybody, we're both really bad at animals.
Well, there's the dog and the cat and then the other ones.
It's like dog, cat, bear. That's all I got.
Umpiring is a perfect and hard job for Scyther. Cut that out. But it is a hard job, let's be real.
Okay, but the least that CB Buckner can do is look at the base.
Yeah.